Welcome everyone to the Ganders Podcast. You can find us on Amazon Music, Spotify, and YouTube. Today, we're doing our first ever historical fiction. It's history, but we warp it into something silly, insane, or stupid. Today, we're going to talk about how pirates were always on the search for the Fountain of Youth. If I'm correct, that's what we're going with, guys?
That is correct. We are
And
talking about how pirates went after the Fountain of Youth.
Yeah, and I have the perfect example of one of the first ever recorded pirates in history right now.
Oh, you do?
What started off the pirate journey for years on. Christopher Columbus.
Jesus.
Christopher Columbus, they say he was trying to find a safer way to navigate and trade, right? A faster route. That's not true. He was actually after the Fountain of Youth. He's one of the first people who realized that looking through ancient scrolls and scripts that the Fountain of Youth was real, and he went searching for it. And people thought he was a loon, so he went under a disguise to find a better trade route. But in reality, he was looking for that fountain so he could live forever. One of the most important historical figures, starting the big pirate boom.
I mean, a lot of things were invented by accident.
That is true. Speaking of boom, that was dynamite.
Well, yeah, and so that's why
and sticky notes.
Big boom. So people always thought he was trying to do that, but we ended up finding America and the Caribbean areas because that's where he landed at originally. He went to the Caribbean area. Christopher Columbus did. It was more towards Florida, I think, or South America area. I believe he actually was first places he actually landed.
He
in Spain.
Yeah, well, he never landed on land in North America.
It's true, yeah. It was more South America.
Yeah.
And the Caribbean, mainly the Caribbean.
Exactly. That's what started the big pirate boom out. It's and all these people looking for this Fountain of Youth.
Now, he was looking for this fountain. I believe the description he was looking for was a green liquid.
A green liquid?
It was yes. The Fountain of Youth was a green, just thin like water. Fountain just in the sacred area that was hidden to the world.
Yeah, that's right, in the Sacred Trove, because the reason why he knew about this is because it's actually found by a group of people that no longer exist. The Vikings found it originally, and they wrote it down, but they thought this was too valuable to let people know about it. So the Vikings,
yes. In Viking lore, that's what they're drinking in Valhalla because they're living forever in the afterlife.
Exactly, and
so
they think it's
is just like mead.
What's the Fountain of Youth?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, and in Viking lore too, Christopher Columbus was one of the first, not modern day, but earlier modern day, who saw in the Viking lore that Valhalla actually exists, but it isn't an afterlife. It's just immortality from the Fountain of Youth, right? Because they think that the Fountain of Youth is just a name. It grants you you live forever and you don't get sick. Nothing happens to you. So Valhalla's somewhere out in the world. It could be near the fountain or it couldn't be. But he deciphered that through the ancient Viking scrolls and texts he went through because he was a big explorer.
Yeah, and the reason why you go to Valhalla if you die in battle is because you do not actually die if you are on the Fountain of Youth nectar.
Mm-hmm. Exactly, and only high up Vikings were able to do this too, right? It wasn't not all the Vikings fully knew about it. Only the people of high class, nobility, and high warriorship were granted this mead, this fountain. But it was too powerful, so they kept it a secret. And their secret living in their little Valhalla place somewhere on Earth. Yeah, it gets even more knowledgeable though, because Christopher Columbus was the first person, right? Yeah. Columbus never found it. He did find the Americas, which is suspected where the fountain's at because there were some Viking ships he found ruined near some areas in the Americas. So he's assuming that the Vikings had to come here, and this is where they either imported the Fountain of Youth liquid or where they found Valhalla at, or where their Valhalla is founded at. He wasn't quite sure, but that started off the big pirate boom, where a lot more pirates came to the area, starting the great pirate surge.
All right, so Columbus didn't find it; he just sparked the whole adventure.
Yeah, Columbus sparked the entire thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was the first.
All right, so he's the gold.
He discovered the information.
So he's the Goldie Rogers in the situation. Got it.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's weird about Columbus though, because like he was recorded not to find it, but like his death is surrounded in mystery though, so it's interesting with him. He died, but like the recordings of his death are murky and like change a lot. There's a legend that maybe he did find it, and he's one of the few other non-Vikings to have it, or that the Vikings slaughtered him. You know, his death was covered up by the Great British Army.
All right, so what are some of the historical figures that he inspired to go find this fountain of youth?
Well, the Queen, of course. The Queen of England.
Yeah. Yeah, they sent all those ships looking for the fountain.
Yeah. And like
Not for for colonizing land, yes, but
yeah,
to own the fountain.
exactly. They were trying to own the fountain, and like the colonization was a big part of it. But a lot of people don't forget is like the Revolutionary War was fought over like taxation, colonization, but they wanted that land so they could scour for this fountain of youth for Valhalla. So like part of the Revolutionary War is included in finding that fountain of youth.
The hidden war. Got it.
Yeah, well, their motivation for
The hidden reason.
Yeah, the hidden reason, and like, so the British were they're like one of the big components, but then you had like a lot of offshoot people like Blackbeard was going after it constantly, a major figure in history right there.
Various individuals.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like
So-
honest, like George Washington
That's-
even found like a little hint.
Oh
about
yeah.
it.
Oh yeah, that's why there's a famous painting of him crossing the Delaware. That was during his expedition for the fountain.
Exactly. And like he was a major component because he didn't want the British to get it, because he knows if they were able to gain like immortality, basically, their empire would spawn across the entire world, and he didn't want that, because George Washington, like, he never could tell a lie, right? There's rumors about the apple tree as well, is that like he was also hunting for the fountain. It's like the apple tree grew from the waters of the fountain, and like that's why he cut it down to like get the apples and get the tree to study it when he was a kid, because he was like big into this. He's a big fan of Christopher Columbus. He was a big fan of like just the Viking history and lore too, and
So he started prepping for the journey at a young age.
exactly, he started prepping. He knew what he wanted. He's like, this new land, this might be here.
So George Washington had a good sense of adventure when starting at a young age.
Exactly.
Wanting to find this mystical fountain of youth, this Valhalla.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why, like, that's where Manifest Destiny came from too. It's like you gotta expand. That was like ingrained in American history right there.
Yeah, our destiny manifested in the form of immortality,
Yeah, exactly.
living forever.
And like they said, it was for colonization, going from sea to shining sea. Well, that shining sea was the damn fountain they were looking for. It's that shining green fountain, that emerald shine from the fountain. There's a lot of places that it could be in that people theorize. Like, a lot of people theorize Mount Rushmore. The Caribbean is a huge one. That's where a lot of pirate activity is. But the Mississippi River, again, a lot of pirates in the Mississippi River raiding and smuggling things. They thought it was maybe like there's a secret cave entrance somewhere in there and on that river.
Yeah, and the Mississippi River is vast. It goes across a lot of the North America.
Exactly, and that like they're assuming that's in there like in a little cavern or something, and like there's more Viking sketches around that area too. It's like they almost travel down the Mississippi consistently. Another big one was the Grand Canyon, of course. They scoured that place. Like, remember, like, and this thing goes through all of America's history. Like, this fountain influenced so much of America's history.
Oh yeah,
Like,
especially Roswell, New Mexico.
yes, Roswell, New Mexico is like one of the most modern day interpretations of it, of like that whole fountain thing and why there's a secret base there.
Yeah. So part of the story is that there was a weather balloon or something, and someone thought they saw an alien ship. It was actually that. The real story is it was a real ship. It was an American ship, but the people inside that were believed to be aliens were actually on a failed recreation of the fountain's liquid
Yeah, because
because they were trying to synthesize it. They're trying to manufacture it.
yeah, exactly. And like the big thing is like it's been through all these rumors and studies of like this liquid. The biggest thing about it is like one, it grants you basically immortality from everything. We're not sure if you have to drink it multiple times. It doesn't seem like it. It seems like almost like a one-time thing, like the Holy Grail. Which we'll get to in a minute. The Holy Grail plays a huge factor into this as well. Um, but that's later down the line because the fountain goes through all of history. Um, but also then, like you said, the rumors about like them making these spaceships for America and stuff is that like the fountain's water is almost like mercury at times. Like if you heat it up to a certain point instead of boiling, it actually becomes mercury and more solid. It's like an opposite effect of like all physical traits, and that you can use it as like a building material to like build like spaceships that are like nigh indestructible and can't be broken apart. Which it leads into like how like the technology boom happened. A lot of people are theorizing is that like maybe the fountain was found, especially in the Area 51 section, right? And again, rumors that the leader of the Area 51 expedition was Christopher Columbus, of course. Like there's rumors that that's him. Like he's in charge of that. That he's still there. He's in Area 51, and that a lot of the people who are immortal now in America's history are at Area 51. Like in that huge compound area, there's a massive underground sprawling base that has access to the fountain, but also all the people that can't die anymore. It's simply like a more modern day Valhalla. Because I don't think we ever found where the real Valhalla did, or at least the rumors of the Valhalla we've been hearing about.
Yes, because Valhalla was a closely guarded secret of the Vikings.
Yes. And like there's some hints towards where that's at, but I'm not quite uncertain. Do you know any more Viking lore, Dmpad? About like where it could potentially be?
So the Vikings were an interesting group. They they had many ships. They enjoyed battle. So it it is highly possible that the um, that Valhalla is not in Scandinavia where they're from.
Mm-hmm.
It's entirely possible that they created the ice mass over Antarctica to physically cover up Valhalla to allow them to continue living in peace away from the rest of the world.
Yeah. I
Possibly even, uh, possibly even being Antarctica being a cap to a hollow Earth, or at least a cavern within the Earth.
where Valhalla's laying down, or at least the area of it. I've heard of that too, because like Antarctica being like a giant cap for it also makes a lot of sense for like the speculation about like how this fountain of youth can be formed into a metallic object or other objects that are like super strong. Is like they use that as their Viking selves to like create that as well to help create the machines to produce the ice cap that covers up this massive secret.
Yes, and the penguins are especially strange creatures because, as we know, birds aren't real. But the penguins are think of it like a security system, or yeah, like security cameras. They're watching and making sure no one cracks the ice.
Yes, and it's very scary for them right now because of like what's going on. Is like our climate change is going on, so Vikings are terrified right now because they're like we cannot be found out because here's the thing: if everyone's immortal, no one is. You know what I mean? Like the world is gonna like go to shit if everyone's immortal. And like they don't want that. They want to keep it to themselves. Their secret Valhalla in Antarctica. So that's why they're terrified of what's going on. So they're inventing new ways to maybe potentially freeze over the Earth right now in Valhalla to keep their secret safe.
To trigger a new ice age.
Yeah, they're trying to trigger a new ice age. Like, do you see those blizzards that just happened where we're at recently over Christmas? Oh heck yeah, that's part of the Vikings doing right there. But the search for it continues because, like, again, this is speculation, and like the big speculation is like the fountains in Area 51 area or around that section of it. And like a lot of people still want to go there. Like people think it's aliens, which is one of the biggest government cover-ups ever. Is like they made a cover-up to cover up the real cover-up. You know what I mean? Like they made
once you get to a certain number of layers of absurdity, people stop to believe it.
Exactly.
Or stop believing it. There.
Like people, like it was easier for them to make people believe that okay, our cover-up is UFOs, right? Like that's a good one to get people to believe too. Like defraud from what our actual true like hidden secrets are of like how we have like this thing for the Americas like hiding and like these making these machines, which is go ahead.
Yeah, and that is why no president, no matter how much they promise, has ever released the UFO information from Area 51 because it doesn't exist.
Exactly. Because like, even some presidents do gain access to the Area 51 information, but many do not.
Yeah, but my point is their promises are releasing the data on UFOs, the footage of UFOs, but there's nothing to release.
Exactly.
No matter, even when they've visited, they haven't been able to bring anything back to share that would be relevant.
Yeah, exactly, because it was not relevant to UFOs. It's just that they cover up what they're actually doing. And like the cool thing about this place in Area 51 is like it seems like they're in direct conflict with the Vikings in Valhalla. It seems like that's the case right now. I'm not quite sure if they know where the Vikings are at, but the Vikings know where they're at, and that's the scary part. Because they're like the Vikings is supposed an existential threat of like history to them because like they've been there longer, they know more, and that scares us. That scares.
Yeah, they've been studying this for centuries at this point.
And like we don't know how influential they've gained now, how much influence they have over everything. So that's why America now has started their new program. What's the name of it again? I forgot the name of it. It was something, but basically
SpaceX.
What was it? SpaceX? Well, I'll try to describe what it is, and then you guys can remind me what the name is of it. But basically, it's a program where they're taking like influential from all over the world, historical figures of power, great leadership, great strength, right? And they're basically taking them and making them live forever, like so they can gain an advantage over the Vikings.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. They're posing it as a cultural exchange program.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Which is terrifying, but also like reassuring because I don't know who's worse, the Vikings or America. Which one am I scared of? I really don't know. But yeah, and I know some historical figures that they've actually taken from like history, which is kind of crazy, like that are rumored. Like a big one.
Yeah. There's a pretty obvious one, like Paul Rudd.
Rudd.
He seems to be aging in reverse.
Yeah, Paul Rudd's a big one, right? That's a big one right there. Oh, another big one is like, because this was massive, and they did a huge cover-up with this one, the Queen of England. Like the recent Queen of England. Like, guaranteed, they people were catching on, and so they had to do a massive cover-up with like bringing her to Area 51.
Yeah, people were suspicious how long she was there.
Yeah, very.
They would have gotten suspicious.
Yeah, it was scary suspicious how people were getting like, oh shit, like people, even if it was coming off as jokes on like Reddit and stuff, they were scared shitless. So they had to they're like, we got to do this right now. And so when she visited Ireland, that's when they did the exchange. Anyone else that you think of like when it comes to it? I don't know. There's a huge list that I was like the rumored people who are like on that, and people went missing. You know.
I think they had to take out Kennedy because I think he was about to leak that information to the
Well,
public.
yeah, heck yeah, yes.
Yeah.
That's the clear one that they had to take out. Like that was like, oh yeah. And then
Yeah, Kennedy, even Lincoln was
yeah.
getting to the point where too much, what's it called, transparency was going to take place.
yeah, like they even though like Lincoln really like loved the founding fathers, little did he know the founding fathers were still alive, and they called the shots. Like George Washington and Benjamin Franklin are still alive in Area 51 in that compound right now. They called the shot on Lincoln. They called it. Like that was their doing, which is insane, by the way. Like Benjamin Franklin, come on, man. And we know like you're an important figure, but like it is ashamed what you had to do to protect the secrets.
Protect his inventions.
Exactly, because he was one of the first components of like modern day history after the Vikings, of like literally inventing like the technology from the fountain, like these materials, these weapons. You know, he was very good at doing that.
So you mentioned the Holy Grail earlier. How does that take place in the story? How does it all? Because I know King Arthur went looking for the Holy Grail. So do you think the Vikings influenced Arthur to go look for the Holy Grail?
Yes, 100%. Because the Vikings are the first that we know of. Because throughout history, there's been rumors of this fountain, right? And this Holy Grail. King Arthur, I don't think ever found it. Maybe he did. Maybe that's Merlin. We don't really know fully. And that the fountain was magical. Which is 100% true. King Arthur could be in Area 51, or could be with the Vikings, or could be a third party in general if he did find it, you know? Go right ahead.
The Holy Grail, there was theories that it was technology from the Vikings to create a temporary immortality effect to just regular fluid, any beverage, I suppose, and that would have been useful in wars, in fighting.
Yeah, and like a big thing, what you're saying, the Vikings, Dmpad?
The Vikings.
Yeah, it gave them the temporary immortality, right? You were saying?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because you're right. Because they figured out how to morph the fountain into objects, which didn't grant full immortality, but gave them like a huge boost in strength and like durability. Is they morphed like chalices and out of this material, out of the fountain liquid, right?
Yeah.
And then they'll drink out of that chalice. It could be water, it could be wine, but that would imbue it with some of that power.
Yeah, and it would be a temporary, like, supercharge.
Yeah. Which was really cool. And that's like how the Grail kind of went into it, is like finding these ancient Grails. Because this is the Holy Grail. There's multiple Grails that you could drink from, and it would give you that stuff. And some people in history did find some, and like drank from them and became super strong in battle, but they never found the true fountain location.
And the Grail was obviously invented because they believed if everyone had immortality, then it was worthless. So some people, although they needed immortality for the moment, they didn't need it forever.
Yeah, exactly. And like the higher ups, like the higher ups would be like, no, we'll do this, but they usually kept it. Like the super like worthy warriors who won combat after combat were granted into Valhalla. They were given a ceremony, granted them into this place. It wouldn't. Weird thing about it though, they would have had to fake being dead for a while until the body recoverers came and they're like, all right, gotta get you to Valhalla, man. Get on your ship and go. Which was kind of fun. It's kind of funny. It's like he just has to play dead for like 10 hours sometimes, you know.
Yeah, and with that being a ridiculous time, there's ideas that they had some sort of like, what's it called? Poison, I guess is the best way to put it. A potion, maybe.
Yeah.
Poison, whatever, that would make you appear dead.
Yeah. It would like slow the heart rate super, like a very slow heart rate.
Yeah, kind of like how some spies would in movies and stuff would have cyanide capsules in their mouth. Mm-hmm. They'd have a capsule of whatever that fake death liquid, I'll call it.
Yeah, well, it probably was actually like cyanide or some like actual death liquid, but since they already drank from the chalice, not drank from the chalice, but already were granted access to Valhalla, right? And fully drank the immortality stuff, they would take the poison, it would just weaken their body, like basically near death, right?
But it would cause...
but like they wouldn't die. Like it would have to, the poison would have to run through your system, and then you'd be normal, you know?
Yeah, they would feel the death, but they wouldn't truly die because they'd wake up later.
Yeah, which is a big part of the Viking like heritage and ceremony too. Is like you have to experience basically death and then be granted into Valhalla, which is like, again, all based in the lore of it. You have to die as a noble warrior granted to Valhalla.
Mm-hmm. And that actually shows part of how that immortality works, is that it doesn't necessarily keep you alive constantly, but if you die, you will wake up soon enough.
Yeah. Like it could be a long time. You could get a severe injury and be out for like years, but you'd still wake up eventually after your body fully recovers itself.
Yeah, and that's most likely how legends of like living skeletons came to be, based partially in reality of these deathly looking people still roaming the earth.
Yeah, exactly. And like that actually is crazy you mentioned that, because like that's how a lot of mythical creatures have like actually came to be. It's all because of this fountain. So if you want to know the origins, this is like a big thing that like is almost confirmed, is that when the asteroid struck the Earth that killed all the dinosaurs, that is what brought this mystical element to us from outer space. That's the hypothetical thing that actually brought this fountain to us, actually. And all this rare material that reproduces.
Yeah. Which is why it was suspected to be in the Americas or Caribbean, because scientists are now saying that the asteroid impacted like off the coast of Florida.
Exactly. And like that's a big thing too, is like a speculation too, is like we go to the great mythics and everything, all these weird legends. When it crashed, the theory is that like Nessie, you know, in the Loch Ness, was one of the few creatures that actually drank from the liquid after it crashed in the crash site, and eventually got landlocked after terrain generated over in Ireland, after the movements of the plates and everything. So Nessie's actually an immortal dinosaur, and that's why, you know, the Loch Ness Monster exists. But yeah, especially that's a big thing too, is like the asteroid hitting is like big thing why Columbus thought it was over here. And it might explain why people in Florida are kind of crazy, is like the residual effects of it, you know?
Yeah, but obviously it's not there anymore.
Yeah,
or else
they've transported
more would be happening. Yeah.
And like, again, speculated that they transported it to Area 51. It's like a place that they can control better.
Or the Vikings took it.
Yeah, and that could also be why the Americas are pissed off. Like the Vikings took it recently, and they're trying to get it back. Which is very scary, honestly. The Vikings took it. Like, who knows what kind of, like, what great immortality war might break out. Like, how does a war between immortal beings, like, work?
Well, we're kind of seeing it now. That might be why the U.S. is so focused on oil. Is like you had mentioned earlier, melting the ice caps in Antarctica is a goal to reclaim the fountain.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. And like a lot of a lot of people are going for green energy, or just like really good people. But if you look carefully at those higher up CEOs, like their paths are like murky, and it's hard to follow where they grew up at. Like if you follow the lines and look deep enough, they might be Vikings trying to implement green energy to keep those ice caps melting. Not melting, I mean, prevent them from melting.
So it's like a secret war happening outside of our view.
Yeah. And like that's the big thing too. It's like they want to get the fountain back from the Vikings when the Vikings stole it in the 50s. That's the biggest time. Is like it's speculated that in the 1950s, around when the Cold War was happening, was when the Vikings took the fountain. That was like we were preoccupied with other issues, and that's when it was stolen from America.
Yeah, and not knowing where it was, that's why it led to the space race.
Yes, exactly. What also led to the space race too is like we don't have this anymore. We need to find more, and like since we speculated that it came from outer space and an asteroid, we're in outer space searching for it.
Mm-hmm.
And again, why it's kind of coming back again now is like SpaceX is a big thing with it. Trying to create that to continue on like the space endeavors to find more things that grant people immortality per se.
Yeah, and it all circles back to what Patrick was alluding to earlier, SpaceX.
Yep,
Mm-hmm.
exactly.
A non-government company looking for space exploration.
Yep.
In fact, I think it's tourism is their end goal because they're wanting to colonize Mars.
Yep.
So that's just your public goal then.
Yeah.
It may share truth with reality. Mars may be quintessential in finding more fountain water.
Mm-hmm. Mars might be the key for everything. Like it is close to our solar system. The asteroid had to come from somewhere, and that's a good jumping off point to like figure out where it's at.
And we don't know if it was a natural asteroid or another race that possibly died out on a now barren planet.
Mm-hmm.
Launch to try to preserve their most sacred technology.
Yeah, exactly. And like maybe we have to pass this down. Maybe there's like maybe there's only like 3 aliens left who are immortal, and we have to bring this to someone else. And shot it here. That could be what happened.
Yeah, once they realize that, well, we killed our planet, but we are still dying on it, despite being immortal, because we still feel pain.
Yeah.
They decide to get rid of it and find a new place for them to restart.
Yep, exactly. That's how it's going on. It's surprising how much in history is based around this fountain. It's crazy. Like a lot of things were like done because of it. I do think the craziest part about this though is like a lot of rich people who don't have access to it now because it was stolen in the 50s, have tried to synthesize based on the information they got their own fountain of youth formula now.
Mm-hmm.
Which is terrifying because a lot of it's backfired. The rumor is that Elon Musk took this formula, and that's why he looks and Elon Musk, Mark Zuckerberg, which gives him like a lizard-like appearance as a side effect, even though it doesn't grant them full immortality, sadly.
Yeah, and a possible other side effect is the warping of their perception of reality.
Exactly.
With many of these people, they seem very disconnected from what's actually happening.
Yeah, they're not connected with like their humanity. It like almost strips it away from them, and they become super ego boosted as well, and like this is like what I want. This is who I am.
Yeah, well, think of if you're immortal, would you view non-immortal humans as equals?
Of course you wouldn't. And like that's the scary thing. But some people do though value us as equals. Though some immortal beings do, which takes a lot of their heart and willpower to do. Because like a lot of people have grown tired of living for so long, you know, not being able to go out. That sometimes there's these things called extended slumbers, they call them, where they will die for like 50 years to take a break. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's a very rudimentary form of I guess cryostasis.
Yeah, like yeah.
So they can wake up in the future to experience a new time, a new era.
Yeah, and it's easier to fake their identity as well, you know?
Yes, with their technology, it's not an issue.
Yeah. A big one is Walt Disney. Is like that whole theory about his frozen head. What do they know? He's just in an extended slumber, cryostasis, with the full like immortality on him right now. But he's waiting to see where his company is in like 100 years, you know? Like he's waiting for the 22nd century right now. To see how his company did.
Yes. See if they still meet the values he created it with.
Yep. And that's one way you can beat immortal people, though, is you keep them in stasis for so long, you know? And like that's what they fear the Vikings are gonna do. Especially if
it's just continuously keep them in stasis.
Yeah, keep them in stasis forever so they get rid of the problem itself. Shoot them off somewhere different in space. Kind of why they want to do a eternal winter, you know what I mean? If they get an eternal winter, the easier it is to keep someone frozen still. To finally create the Ragnarok they've so desired. Have you enjoyed this history lesson so far, Patrick? Have you learned anything good or new?
Yeah, I learned a whole lot.
Have you remembered anything, or?
Look, I'll be honest, you lost me when you said spaceship.
Oh, can we do a recap? Can you give us a test? We're going to test you. We're going to quiz you on this after that.
After we're done, we'll quiz you on this. Don't worry.
Yeah. Is there any more notable facts that you remember from like this whole fountain thing, or the whole fountain of youth conspiracy people believe in? Which I buy this shit. Makes sense to me.
So it's the search for the fountain of youth. Is that why the Earth is flat?
It's not.
It's not flat. What the fuck?
Are you sure?
I'm not quite sure what you're getting at.
What the hell? What kind of theory is that?
That may actually be, now that you mention it, that makes sense if that is a theory spread by the Vikings to avoid people from figuring out that they are indeed living inside of the Earth.
That makes sense. Well, people have caught on though with the hollowed Earth theory though. They have started catching on with that. That's like the closest we've come to it so far though.
Yeah.
But that makes so much sense now, actually. Thanks for bringing that up, the flat stuff, Patrick, actually.
You're very welcome.
Oh my God.
I'm well-versed in this.
There's so much, like, going on. It's just surprising that all this, like, affected the whole world like this. We only know about this recently, though, because, like, there was the Kennedy document. Some of them were accidentally released to the public. Like, which was crazy when those were released over the past year. And that's how we got a lot of these tidbits of information. And a lot of people on the fringes of society came out and like, I've been researching this for years. And like, finally, more people believe in me. All right. Anything else to add to our fountain of youth?
I have nothing. No.
I think that's the history of the fountain as we know it.
What do you mean, as we know it? What?
As we know it, because a lot of it's just theories and hidden in mystery, shrouded in mystery.
Yeah. So you're...
If any of the viewers have new information,
Drop it in the comments, or
Yeah, drop in the comments on YouTube.
Yeah.
I don't believe either of the other platforms have comment sections,
They
but
do.
write it in the review on Spotify if you can.
I can see reviews of like, oh damn, I think the fountain's here now. The Vikings put it here.
After you drop a 5-star review on Spotify, write a
yeah. So if you want,
you gotta write the review, give us 5 stars, and tell us where you think the Fountain of Youth is. What are your theories, and how accurate
or
were
what
we?
information? Yeah,
because we would love to know more. We're new to this whole thing about this fountain, which again, it makes sense to me.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, leave those down below. And by the way, this is all fiction and all in good fun.
Yeah.
Please don't believe anything we just said.
Yeah. You can tell that most of this was fiction. Wow.
Get help.
Yeah. See, is everything okay at home? Drop that in the review as well. After the 5-star review.
All right. Well, I hope you all have a good one. Bye.
Bye.